I've mopped that hallway every morning for 3 years, and in 3 years the woman who runs the company on the other side of the glass has walked past me exactly once without looking up. That's not a complaint. That's just the truth of the work. You push the mop, you move the bucket, you do the corners right, and the world above you keeps turning. I learned that early, first at the county lending office where I spent 22 years approving or declining small business loan applications, and then here, at Vantage Group's 9th floor, where I've been on building maintenance since I took early retirement and realized I needed somewhere to be each morning. A man with nothing to do in the morning is a man in trouble. I know that. Owen knows it too, because he watched what happened to the men on our street who stopped having somewhere to be, and he is 16 and pays attention. So Thursday. I had the mop out by 7:15, working from the elevator bank toward the conference suite, and I heard the stairwell door open the way it always does when she's in early, a quick push, heels already moving. Ms. Hale. Diane Hale, CEO of Vantage Group, 41 years old, built her logistics consulting firm from a one-room office above a print shop on Garrison Street into the 9-floor operation it is today. I know her story the way I know the layout of the building, from the outside, from the shape of it, from what it tells you if you pay attention. I have never spoken to her beyond good morning, and on most mornings she doesn't hear even that. She went past. I finished the corridor. I took the bucket to the service closet on the south end, logged my hours on the clipboard by the door, and thought about the memo. It had come from the building facilities director. In a building like this, information moves through the service corridors the way weather moves, quietly, without announcement. 3 of us on the maintenance staff were listed as redundancies in a coming operational review. My name was one of them. I had read the list on Tuesday, set it down, and not thought about it the way you stop thinking about the weather, it's coming or it isn't. I drove home that evening on the route that takes me past the park where my wife Ruth used to run on Saturday mornings before she got sick. I don't always go that way. But that Thursday I went the long way and it was fine, because I have had enough practice at carrying things that I know what's worth carrying and what you set down. Owen had dinner started when I got in. Scrambled eggs and toast, which is his specialty, the only thing he will cook without being asked, and he does it well. We ate at the kitchen table under the light that has been slightly too yellow since the bulb I replaced last March turned out to be the wrong temperature. I keep meaning to fix it. I like it now. He asked about my day. I told him about the corridor, about the conference suite where someone had left a full pot of cold coffee and an entire sleeve of crackers from the night before. He laughed. Then I told him, I don't know why I told him that night, only that it was on my mind, about a loan application that had come across my desk at the county office 12 years ago. A young woman, 29, first-generation business owner, wanting to start a logistics consulting firm. Her financials were thin. Her collateral was a used sedan and 18 months of savings. Every bank in the county had already turned her down. I could see the rejection stamps on her supporting documents, 4 of them, lined up like a small wall she'd walked into 4 times and gotten up from 4 times. But her projections were handwritten in a spiral notebook, and they were good. Not good the way a consultant's projections are good, neat and formatted and padded with cushion. Good the way a person who has been thinking about something for years and has run the numbers themselves, in their own kitchen, without help, is good. She'd thought about it from every angle. She'd been honest about where it could go wrong. She'd built the plan around the honest numbers, not the favorable ones. I approved it. $62,000. I wrote 3 paragraphs in the file justifying it, which was more than I usually wrote, because I wanted the record to show my reasoning clearly in case anyone ever questioned it. No one ever did. She made every payment. I retired 2 years later when Ruth got her diagnosis, and I never followed up, because it wasn't my place to follow up. You do the work that's in front of you. You do it right. Then you let it go and do the next thing. Owen looked at me across the scrambled eggs and said, "Why are you telling me this tonight?" I thought about it. "I just wanted you to know," I said, "that sometimes the right thing doesn't announce itself. Sometimes you just do it and nobody ever knows, and that's completely fine." He nodded, in the way he nods when he is storing something rather than responding to it. He is a good kid. He gets that from his mother. I didn't tell him the name on the application. There was no reason to. It was 12 years ago, and it was done, and the building memo was the building memo, and none of those things were connected. Except that they were. Saturday I wasn't working. I drove out to Millhaven Self-Storage on the east side of town, Unit 44, which had been my father-in-law's unit and was now, by inheritance and default, the place where things that didn't fit anywhere else had been sitting since he passed 3 years ago. Ruth's family, not mine, but after Ruth died, I became the one who dealt with things, because Owen was 13 and her sister lived in Phoenix and her brother hadn't been reachable in 7 years. So the unit was mine to manage, and I had been managing it slowly, one Saturday at a time, the way you manage something that holds someone else's memory. Her father, Gerald, had been a man who kept things. Not in a disordered way, in the way of a man who believed that paperwork was permanent and physical things were evidence. He had kept his tax filings from 1987 forward, the receipt from the refrigerator he bought in 1994, and, in a battered accordion folder at the back of the unit behind 2 boxes of his wife's crockery, a collection of documents that weren't his. They were Diane's. I found the folder by accident, reaching for a box that had shifted. The accordion folder was labeled, in Gerald's careful print, Diane, company founding, important. I recognized what it was immediately, the kind of file a proud father keeps, the documents his daughter probably forgot she'd ever given him. Articles of incorporation. A lease agreement for an office on Garrison Street. Bank correspondence. And at the back, in a clear plastic sleeve, the original loan approval letter from the Millhaven County Small Business Lending Office, dated 11 years and 8 months ago. I stood in the storage unit under the fluorescent light and read it. My name was on it. My signature. My 3 paragraphs of justification. $62,000. I put the folder back in the accordion file, put the accordion file in the box I was taking home, and drove home. I sat at the kitchen table under the 2 yellow light and looked at the letter for a while, then put it in the inside pocket of my jacket. I wasn't sure yet what to do with it, and that was the safest place I knew. Monday morning I was in the service corridor by 7:10. The mop, the bucket, the corners. The elevator opened at 7:40 and I heard her come through the stairwell door the way she does on early mornings, already moving. I kept my eyes on the baseboard I was working and said good morning the way I always do, not expecting anything back. She stopped. I looked up. Diane Hale was standing in the middle of the 9th floor corridor in her coat, her briefcase at her side, holding a piece of paper. She was looking at me the way people look at something they recognize but cannot immediately place, the face you know from somewhere, the name that won't come, the feeling that 2 things you kept in separate rooms of your mind have just walked into the same room together. She said, Mr. Deller. Nobody on the 9th floor had ever said my name like that before. She said it the way you say a name when you've been staring at it on a document for 2 days and have just matched it to a face. I said, good morning, Ms. Hale. She held up the paper. It was a photocopy. It was my letter. I found this, she said, in my father's storage unit on Saturday. I looked at the letter. I looked at her. I said, I know. That surprised her. She took 1 step closer. You knew I was here? In this building? I did. 3 years ago, when I took the maintenance position. The name was on the building directory. I leaned the mop handle against the wall. I wasn't sure you'd want to know. She was very still. Outside the glass, the city was moving, the early deliveries, the first cars, the light coming up gray and even over the rooftops. In the corridor, nothing moved. Why didn't you say anything, she said. This is the question I had thought about since Saturday. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I wanted to be sure I said it right. Because I did my job, I said. I read your application. I thought your numbers were honest and your plan was sound. I approved the loan because that's what the loan was for. That was the whole transaction. I paused. What you built after that, that's yours. That has nothing to do with me. She looked at the letter, then at me. $62,000. Yes. Every bank had already said no. I know. I could see the stamps. I was 29 years old. I had a used car and a spiral notebook. The notebook was good, I said. Better than most things I saw with a cover page and a logo. She made a sound that wasn't quite a laugh, something closer to the sound a person makes when they've been carrying a weight so long they've forgotten it was a weight, and something small and unexpected has just set it down for them. She said, I've been trying to figure out for 11 years who approved that loan. My father kept trying to find out. He never could. County records are closed after 10 years, I said. Standard policy. I wanted to, she stopped. Started again. I wanted to thank someone. You built a 9-floor operation, I said. That's thanks enough for anybody. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, the facilities memo. I didn't say anything. I saw the list, she said. It went across my desk Friday afternoon. She folded the photocopy once and put it in the inside pocket of her coat, the same pocket where I'd kept the letter since Saturday. That list is being revised. Ms. Hale. Not because of this. She said it clearly, without softness or apology. Because the building is understaffed on the service side and has been for 2 years, and I should have flagged it before now. Renata told me the same thing this morning. She picked up her briefcase. But also, she said, because of this. She said it the way my wife used to say things she knew to be fully true and didn't need to argue for. Plain. Settled. I picked the mop back up. She turned toward the glass doors. Then she stopped with her hand on the door and said, without turning all the way around, why this building? Why maintenance? My wife passed 4 years ago, I said. My son was 12. I needed somewhere to be in the morning. She turned just enough to look at me over her shoulder. She nodded, in the same way Owen nods when he is storing something rather than responding to it. Then she went through the door. I finished the corridor. I did the corners right. I moved the bucket to the south closet and logged my hours on the clipboard, the same as every morning. That evening, Owen was at the kitchen table with his homework spread across it the way it always is on Monday evenings. 3 subjects, color-coded, organized the way his mother organized things, a habit he inherited without knowing he inherited it. I made the eggs. I put the plates down. I sat across from him under the 2 yellow light. He said, "How was your day?" I thought about the corridor. I thought about a photocopy of a letter I had written 11 years and 8 months ago to a 29-year-old woman with a spiral notebook and no collateral. I thought about what it means to do a thing right, without an audience, and let it go, and find out years later that it had gone somewhere. It was a good day, I said. He looked up from his homework. He could tell there was more to it than that, because he is 16 and pays attention. Anything happen, he said. A little, I said. I'll tell you sometime. He went back to his homework. I ate my eggs. Outside, the neighborhood settled into the quiet it always settles into on Monday evenings, a dog, a car, the last of the light going out of the sky. The 2 yellow bulb hummed the way it always does. I thought about Ruth, who would have laughed at the whole thing. Who would have said, "Of course it was you, Frank, of course it was, who else would it have been?" And then she would have poured the coffee and we would have talked about something else, because that was how she was, and that was how we were, and the things that are true don't need to be talked about for long. Some things you do because they're right. Some things come back to you years later in a corridor, in someone else's handwriting, in the inside pocket of a coat. And some things you carry home on the long way past the park, in the good quiet of a life that is, when you add it all up, more than enough.